Hi, my name's Pretty Basra. This is the Women Money Business podcast. So, on today's episode, I want to talk to you about failing my A levels. So, I mentioned in previous episodes that I'm not the most academic of people. When I was doing my GCSEs, they did like the assessment of what do you want to do what do you want to be when you become older. I've always wanted to be an optometrist, and that's what I said that I wanted to be. And I was told that that's probably not going to work for you. You're not very strong in the sciences. So I did pick, actually, they made me pick English language, English literature, business, and economics. And I did a couple of weeks of that for A level, and I really didn't enjoy it. And I was of the mindset that if I want something bad enough, I'll work and work and work and try and make it happen for me. So I then sort of changed my A levels a couple of weeks into the sixth form. And when I changed my A levels, I changed them to biology, chemistry, and psychology. Now, when I got my A level results, I got a U in chemistry, which is unclassified. I got an E in biology, and I got a D in psychology. There was a lot going on in my life at the time, which I'll probably discuss on a different episode. I can't sort of blame that entirely for me not passing, but my mind was elsewhere, and I'm just not very academic when it comes to things like that. So at this point, I needed to basically reassess and reevaluate my whole life, because I'm quite lucky and privileged in that respect, where I have always known what I wanted to do. And because I know now, sort of over the years of sort of talking to people, that it's quite, I wouldn't say difficult, but it's a bit unusual knowing from such a young age what you want to do with such strong purpose. So I had to have a really difficult conversation with my parents, who then asked me, do I just want to have just like a normal job, or do I want to pursue my career of being an optician? And that didn't feel great, if I'm honest with you, to have to make that decision, because it wasn't just like, well, do I want to wear this nail varnish or that nail varnish? It was my life, my whole life, and what I was working towards my whole life. And I said, well, I don't know what I can do now, because I failed, and that is it. You know, the grades required to get into university at the time were two A's and a B, because I wanted to go to Aston University, and the lowest I think I could get in at was maybe three B's or two B's and a C. So I really need to have a real think about what's going to happen. So the answer to, so it was like a yes and no answer, in terms of my parents asking me, what do you want to do? Do you still want to be an optician, or do you not want to do that and just sort of get a job at Tesco or whatever? And I said, like, obviously I do want to be an optician, but I don't think I can, because I'm not naturally intelligent. So we spoke to the school and said, like, you know, if she does want to redo this, how does that work? And they suggested looking at research colleges, which I had never heard of at the time, and I suppose I wouldn't hear of, because I wasn't expecting to be in that position. And that was like a glimmer of hope for me, thinking, well, okay, it's not the end. It's not the end. You know, there is another step. However, I also had to have a big word with myself, to sort of ask of myself, even if you give them the opportunity to reset, will you actually get anywhere near the grades that you need? Because a D, an E, and a U, to then convert that to potentially just, even if it was two B's and a C, let alone triple A's, is way off the mark. So I needed to have a really deep dive into my own sort of psyche at the time, to like, can I do this? And the answer to that is, I don't know, because I just don't know. So I researched the research colleges that the school had suggested, and the ones that were nearest to me were still in Birmingham, which was probably about a 45-minute to an hour commute. So I just thought, well, I'll go and have a look at them and just sort of take it from there, just try and understand what the program is. But there's also a lot of financial cost involved with doing that. And at the time, finances were not good at all. So I had been working for a couple of years, at Vision Express at this point. So I did have a little savings pot, but not enough to cover a year resit. But me being me, I was like, you know what, I'll go and get all the information, and then I can try and make an informed decision. So I went with my mum to the resit college, and like I said, there was two, and the first one that I went to was in Birmingham, in the area of Hagley, and it was a little converted house, literally like walking into like a bedroom detached house with a little conservatory and little they had it as a library with very small desks, maybe like 7 desks where you would just study. And as you walked in, that was there. Straight ahead was your conservatory, where was the social bit, but it was very, very small. And then you just had a staircase going up, and then there was 3 very small classrooms upstairs. So it was quite an intense setting, I would say, quite niche and very focused. Like the minute I walked through the door, I thought, this is something else. You know, you're here to study, and you will like that is all you're going to be doing, which is absolutely fine. But I don't think I've been to a place that's so you feel it when you walk through the door. So because I was wanting to research potentially chemistry and biology, because that's when I looked at the prices. That's probably that was really upper limit of what potentially could be affordable. My parents said, if you want to do it, we'll try and find the money for you from somewhere, but it's on you. You know, it's all on you. So it's a lot of pressure. And I spoke with the chemistry and the biology tutors, and it's not a big place. It's very small. I think they probably had maximum of maybe 50 students, maybe, in like the whole building doing different courses. They didn't just do those 3 topics that I've mentioned. So I was introduced to the chemistry tutor. I remember going up the stairs, and it was like a little room in the corner, and it was a lab set up, like a chemistry lab, like it normally is. And he had like salt and pepper hair and glasses, like rimless glasses on, and like a really big white beard, and reminded me of Santa Claus, to be fair. But anyway, so my mum and myself sort of sat down to talk to him, and I suppose my mindset at the time was that of I was ashamed, I was embarrassed, I was hurt, I was upset, I felt a failure, and I just felt like what it wasn't worth anything. Like I wasn't worth anything, and I just disappointed myself and everybody around me, and that was a really, really sort of sad place at that point in time. So we sat down, and on reflection, body language would have been very sort of closed and introverted, because I was just thinking, like, I'm so stupid. I'm sat here. I'm going to potentially try and I'm going to pay money. My parents are going to pay money for me to do this resit course. But at the end of it, it's all on me. There's no guarantee that after doing this, I'm going to get an A. You know. So Dave, who was my tutor, and that's how he wanted to be known. He didn't want us to call him Mr. Cox. He was very much call me Dave, which was really odd, because like obviously you don't call your teachers by the first name, but it wasn't a traditional setup. And he said, "Call me Dave. What's your name?" And he just said, "Tell me a little bit about you." And again, obviously, when you go in an interview setting and they ask you those questions, you're a little bit older and you've got a little bit more life experience. But then to be a student, being asked that by your teacher, just felt a little bit different. Like almost like you want to know my story, you want to know like what I'm sort of doing here. And I started off telling him the whole story of what I wanted to do and why I can't do it. And this is sort of last chance saloon for me. But then if I don't at least try and repeat, then in the future, I might think to myself, had I have done that, had I resat, had I have got that money together, would my life have been different? And I didn't want to live with that regret for the rest of my life. So I told Dave that, you know, these were my grades. Are you in chemistry? that was really difficult to say to him, because I felt like I'm going to be quite judged, because he might be thinking you've got it unclassified and you think you can do chemistry, you know. But he was great. He was like, okay. Like, he didn't even flinch when I said I got a U. Didn't even flinch, and I was thinking, okay. And he, like I say, he got to know me. He sort of spoke about what the regime, because it was a regime, it was at the college, and how that would work on a day-to-day basis. And he talked me through how intense it was. He was a edX, it used to be edXL at the time. I don't know whether that's still an exam board. He's an edXL chief examiner, and that to do past paper after past paper every single day. And if we're not being taught, we have to go to the library, and then the past papers there to do. But you live, eat, and breathe these past papers, and education, and chemistry, biology, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And so he taught me through that. And I just thought, that sounds great, because that's what I need. I just need to just really go at it as hard as I possibly can, give it everything. And he then asked me, what grade would you like to achieve in an ideal world? What do you think you will achieve? And what would you need to achieve to get into your chosen degree course? And because, as you probably gathered, chemistry is my weakest subject, which I got a U in, I said to him that I'd be absolutely over the moon with a C. Just to get from U to like E, D, C is like climbing a mountain for me. And then he had my name written on a piece of paper, and he was making notes as I was talking to him. And when he asked me my grade, he wrote down A. And I was really confused, and looked at my mum, and I was like, "It's not A." So I said, "I'm really sorry. I think you misheard me. It's A." No, it's not A. Sorry, it's C that I'm asking, that I'm saying. And he said, "Yeah, A." And I said, "No, no, C for Charlie." And he said, "No." He said, "Pretty, I've spoken to you. You're going to get an A." And I was just thinking, what? Like, you know, and I thought, oh, maybe he's like paid to say that, you know, whatever, because I had constant self-doubt, imposter syndrome, whatever. And I just thought, well, it's him writing it doesn't mean I'm going to get it. So if that makes him happy, that's fine. So I walked away from that meeting and feeling really like, you know, maybe I can do this, maybe I can do this. And I decided to went to see another college as well. Didn't feel the same. Didn't feel that same connection. And I decided that I need to give it a go, because I will regret it for the rest of my life. So I used to wake up at 5:30, get to the train station for about 6:15, get the train from Wolverhampton to Birmingham, and then get a bus for a 45-minute journey to the college, or to be there for about 8:30, 9:00. So you'd say like 6 hours of commuting a day. And you would start at 8:30, and then we wouldn't finish till 6:30 every day, apart from the weekend. And when we weren't learning, we were revising, or we were doing past papers. But it was almost like a cult. Like, you felt like you were in a cult. But then the greatest thing was, everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's like laser focused. Like, everybody is there to try and win. And the class sizes are really small. There's probably, I think there was 5 of us in chemistry, maybe 6 of us in biology lessons. And traditionally, I'd always sit at the back of the class, because I didn't want to be at the front and be picked on in terms of asked a question. And obviously, when there's 5 of you, there's not much room to hide, but I was still trying to sit at the back of the class, as furthest away from Dave as far as possible. And the further away I sat, the more he asked me questions. So I was thinking, I can't get away from this. But then when he'd ask me a question, my answer would be, I don't know. And he used to just push and push and push and say, Pretty, have a go. What do you think it could be? Have a think. What do you think it could be? And I was just so scared to answer, just in case I got it wrong. And he knew, like, he knew that was my demon, that I wasn't talking for the fear of some people thinking I'm silly or I'm stupid because I don't know the answer. And he would say, if it's wrong, you say it again, you try again, you try again. And he used to say to me, the only way you're going to learn is by getting it wrong. Because if you get it right each time, you're not learning. So you need to get it wrong to get it right. And he slowly, piece by piece, built my confidence to answer. And even if I got it wrong, what I used to feel back at school, where everyone's looking at me, everyone must think I'm stupid, everyone's like so much more intelligent than me, I started to feel like, so what if I got it wrong? At least I tried, at least I tried. And he always used to say to me, and I remember this phrase to this day, is, Pretty, have the courage of your convictions. Have the courage of your convictions. And when he used to say that, I used to think, I don't know what that means, but I feel like it's something important. So, okay. And and then when I sort of looked into that phrase, it was just basically what my interpretation is just saying, just have faith in yourself, just believe, and just, if you're saying it, go for it. Stand up and say, this is what I think it is. And always, every lesson, he'd always point at me and say, have the courage of your convictions. And I started to. And that year just flew by, and it was a completely different experience in my life, and one I'll never forget, good and bad. But it was just amazing to have been in that situation. I truly believe that everything happens for a reason, and there was a reason that I failed my A levels, and there was a reason that I came across Amanda Font Woodward College, and there was a reason that I saw Dave and was mentored, coached, taught, uplifted by my chemistry tutor. And then results day came, and everyone knows what that feels like. Even when you've done your last exam and you're thinking, oh, like, what did you say to that answer? What was your answer to that question? What was your answer? And then you build it up in your head like, I've got them all wrong and I'm going to fail. And for me, literally my whole life, that's how I felt. My whole life relied upon these exam results. And I went to get my results on results day, and I opened my transcript, and I'd self-taught myself psychology because I couldn't afford to pay for a psychology reset tutor. So I did do that myself. So I opened up my transcript, and I got a B in biology, which I'd originally got a D in. I'd got an A in psychology, which I've got an E in biology, so I got a B in that. And then in psychology, I had got a D, and now I had an A. And I was about, I think, 10 marks off full marks for all of it, which I was like, what? And that was like self-taught. And in chemistry, I got an A. And it was really, it makes me feel emotional now talking about it, but it just changed my view of the world. And that if someone believes in you, like if someone believes in you, the power that has is phenomenal. You can move mountains with that belief, because it's your mindset that they shift. And he shifted my mindset. He brought out the best in me, and he built me up, and he believed in me, but he made me believe a little bit in myself. And that I'm forever thankful for that. And whenever there's been anything significant happening in my life, I'll always email Dave and say, guess what, Dave? This is what I think, this is where I'm at, all thanks to you. And he's the most humble person I have ever met, ever met. And I remember going to him, he was there, and I remember going to him with my transcript, but he already knew my results, because I think that the college get like a breakdown of them as well. And he just smirked at me and said, A, told you you'd get an A. And I just burst into tears, and sorry. And I just said, like, how did you know? How did you know that I'd get an A? And he said, because I can see it in you. Like he said, I knew you would. I don't think in all of my education that and any of my teachers have ever believed in me or empowered me and made me feel like, you know what, maybe I can do it. Maybe I can. And it was a pivotal moment in my life. Like pivotal. I cannot. I mean, I cannot. Like, it's what, probably 20 years on, and I can still feel those emotions now. What I felt back then, and I think people just need to understand the power of belief. It can change your life and change your world, like it has done for me. And since then, because of that pivotal moment in my life, I think that I can do anything. Might not do it well, let's be honest, might not do it good, but I'll always give it a go. And everyone or anyone that knows me will know that I'm constantly like, oh, I'll do that, and I'll do that. And once I've done that, I'm like, oh, I want to do that now. And I just want to learn and learn and learn, because he instilled that thirst for knowledge and that thirst for education in me, that if I educate myself, I know more, I can move in, into different places. So for example, in optics, I've probably done every course going. I've got all sorts of certificates, accreditations, done a doctorate. I've, because I felt like I'd hit a ceiling in terms of academic growth, I then set up another business and learned how to inject, and I've, so on and so forth. Now I've sort of done other courses where I've looked at different sort of investment strategies. I've looked at marketing courses, just to really just absorb everything that's out there, that's available, because you're only here for such a short time, such a short time. And I feel we are so privileged to live in a world that we live in, and to be able to access education literally in our hands, like on our phones. Why would you not take that? Why would you not make the most of that? And I know they say that knowledge and education is power, but I believe it's only power if you action it, because you can read all the books you want, you can educate all you want with a podcast or with Google, etc. But until you put that education and knowledge into practice, it's worth nothing. So my message for this podcast is just to probably raise awareness of the fact that believing in someone can change not only their lives, but your life as well. And please use education as much as possible, because we are so, so lucky to have it. And I hope that if there's anybody in a similar situation to me, or that is currently there or has been there, finds a little comfort in my story, because you can do it. I 110% believe, and everyone that knows me will know, I always say, you can do it. Because all you've got to do is just be consistent, put the hard work in. Nothing is unachievable. It might take you a little bit longer, it might feel a bit harder, but eventually you'll get there. Now, I'm an optician, but does anybody care that I resat my A levels 15, 20 years ago? Absolutely not. You know, it doesn't matter. The point is, you want to be moving in the right direction, whatever pace that's going at. It doesn't matter. The fact is that you get there, get to the finish line, and just have that in your mind, you know, that you can do it. If I can do it, guys, anyone can do it. So hope that helps somebody out there. And thank you for listening to my story. And I'll join you on the next one.